The coffee shop across from my brother Jack's startup office provided the perfect vantage point for what was about to unfold. I watched as his employees filed into the converted warehouse space, carrying their artisanal coffees and sharing laughs about their latest innovation. My innovation, actually. 6 months ago, I'd made the mistake of sharing my business plan with my family over dinner. A revolutionary logistics platform that could transform small business shipping. I'd spent 2 years developing the algorithm, perfecting the user interface, preparing for launch. Jack had smiled that practiced Silicon Valley smile and said, "Sounds interesting, sis." 2 weeks later, he'd launched Fast Track Logistics. My exact concept, down to the color scheme I designed. My phone buzzed with a text from him. "Hey Sarah, guess what? Just closed another round of funding. $5 million. Thanks again for the $1 million idea." I took another sip of my coffee watching his building through the window. The historic Bradford building, prime Silicon Valley real estate, recently sold to an anonymous investment group. My investment group. Ms. Chen. My assistant's voice came through my earpiece. "The property management team is in position. Should we proceed with the notices?" "Wait for it," I replied, checking my watch. Jack always arrived at 9:15, making a show of his fashionably late CO entrance. Right on schedule, his Tesla pulled into his reserved spot. He stepped out, adjusting his Patagonia vest, the unofficial uniform of tech bros who built their success on stolen ideas. "Now," I instructed. I watched through my phone's live stream as property management representatives entered the building's lobby. They moved efficiently, posting notices on every floor, while a process server waited by Jack's office. My phone buzzed again. "Jack, Sarah, you'll never believe it. Some startup accelerator wants to feature Fast Track as a breakthrough innovation. Want to come to the photo shoot? You can see how a real entrepreneur operates." I smiled, remembering every condescending comment, every stolen concept, every time he dismissed my technical abilities because I wasn't bro enough for his Silicon Valley crowd. The live stream showed Jack entering the building, high-fiving employees and basking in his borrowed glory. He froze mid-stride as he noticed the commotion in the lobby. "What's going on?" His voice carried through the security feed. The property manager stepped forward. "Fast Track Logistics? These are your eviction notices. The building's new owner is terminating all existing leases for immediate renovation." "Eviction? But we have a 5-year lease. This is impossible. Who's the new owner?" I stood gathering my things. Time for my entrance. "That would be me," I said, walking through the lobby doors. The color drained from Jack's face as I approached, designer heels clicking on the marble floor. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" "Just checking on my investment," I replied coolly. "The Bradford building is such a historic property. It deserves an owner who understands the value of original ideas." His eyes darted between me and the eviction notices, realization dawning slowly. "You bought the building? But how?" "The sale price was 8 figures. I supplied. Amazing what you can afford when you spend 2 years actually building a business instead of stealing someone else's. I nodded to the process server, who handed Jack a thick envelope. "Your company has 30 days to vacate. Oh, and you might want to check your investor agreements. I believe they require you to maintain a Silicon Valley address to keep your funding. But all the available office space in the valley is either taken or owned by my investment group." I smiled. Funny how that worked out. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just buying your brother's building. It's watching him realize that while he was busy stealing your idea, you were quietly acquiring the very ground beneath his feet. And as I watched his perfectly crafted CEO facade crumble, I couldn't help but think that some lessons in innovation require a real estate empire to teach. "Oh, and Jack," I called as I turned to leave. "Thanks for being so predictable. I knew you'd choose this building. It's exactly the one I would have picked for my company. You know, the one you stole. Because revenge, like real estate, is all about location, location, location." 3 months after serving the eviction notice, I stood in my newly renovated office, watching the last of Fast Track's employees clear out their desks. Jack's revolutionary startup had imploded spectacularly, taking his reputation and Silicon Valley dreams with it. The tech press had been merciless. Fast Track's fatal flaw, built on stolen innovation, Silicon Valley's real estate chess master. How Sarah Chin checkmated her brother. From theft to bankruptcy. Fast-track 6-month fall. My phone buzzed with the usual family drama. Mom, Sarah, your brother's devastated. Dad, his investors are suing him. Various relatives, can't you help him? He's family. I smiled grimly, remembering their silence when Jack had stolen my work. Family loyalty only seemed to matter when he was the one suffering. Miss Chin. Rachel entered with the morning reports. The final analysis of Fast Track's collapse is ready. You'll want to see these numbers. The report detailed the complete unraveling of Jack's stolen empire. $5 million in lost investor funding, 47 employees now jobless, and a growing list of lawsuits from clients who'd prepaid for services they'd never receive. Have you seen his latest LinkedIn post? Rachel asked, pulling up the screen. There it was, Jack's attempt at damage control. Stepping back from Fast Track to explore new opportunities. Excited for the next chapter. #entrepreneur life, #resilience. Send him our legal team's cease and desist letter, I instructed. The one prohibiting him from using any part of my algorithm in his next chapter. Already done. Also, his attempted stealth startup registration was just rejected. Apparently, the state has some concerns about his previous business practices. My office door opened, revealing my parents, both looking significantly older than they had 6 months ago. Sarah, Mom began, her voice trembling. We need to talk about your brother's future. His future? I raised an eyebrow. Like when you told me to think about my future after he stole my work. What was it you said? He has more business experience anyway? Dad stepped forward, his usual authority diminished. We know we handled it badly. But destroying his career. He destroyed his own career. I cut him off, pulling up the evidence on my screens. Every investor presentation where he claimed my work as his own. Every interview where he talked about his breakthrough algorithm. Every pitch where he sold my 2 years of work as his sudden inspiration. I displayed the growing list of legal actions against Fast Track. Patent infringement claims, investor lawsuits, client complaints. Jack didn't fail because I bought his building, I continued. He failed because he thought stealing an idea was the same as building a business. Rachel appeared with more updates. The venture capital firms have completed their audit. They're demanding full repayment of their investments, citing fraudulent representation. Send them the full documentation package, I instructed. Every dated piece of evidence showing how Jack stole my work. Let them decide if they want to pursue criminal charges. Mom gasped. Criminal charges? Sarah, you can't. Actually, I can, I interrupted. And I'm not the one doing it. The investors Jack defrauded are making that decision. Turns out, Silicon Valley doesn't like it when someone steals intellectual property and presents it as their own. My screens filled with more headlines. Fast Track CEO faces criminal investigation. Tech's cautionary tale. How IP theft killed a startup. Valley's new power player. Sarah Chen's empire expands. You know what the real irony is? I asked, turning to my parents. If Jack had just asked to collaborate, I would have shared the success. But he chose to steal instead, thinking I wouldn't fight back. Dad tried one last time. He's still your brother. Yes, I agreed, and now he's learning what that should have meant. Loyalty goes both ways, Dad. Something this family seems to have forgotten. My phone lit up with another update. Jack's attempts to register new business entities had been flagged by our monitoring system. Tell me, I asked my parents, did Jack ever mention why he chose the Bradford building for his office? They shook their heads. Because it was the exact location I'd scouted for my company launch. He didn't just steal my idea. He took everything I'd planned, right down to the office space. I smiled coldly. He just didn't expect me to own the building before he could buy it. Rachel appeared with fresh reports. The renovation plans are ready. Should we proceed with converting the space for your company's launch? Yes, I nodded. And make sure the new signage is visible from Jack's old parking spot. I want him to see my original company name on the building he thought would house his stolen version. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing a theft. It's building something so successful that the thief has to watch from the sidelines. The tech press was already buzzing about my company's upcoming launch. The same journalists who'd praised Jack's innovation were now writing about the true visionary behind the algorithm. My phone buzzed one final time. Jack, I'm sorry. I should have never stolen your idea. No, I typed back, you shouldn't have. But thanks for teaching me a valuable lesson about protecting my work. And for being predictable enough to lease space in a building I could buy. Because in the end, the greatest victory isn't just reclaiming your stolen idea. It's building an empire so powerful that those who tried to steal your success have to watch you achieve it legitimately. As I prepared for my company's launch presentation, I caught sight of Jack through my office window, standing across the street, staring up at the building that had once housed his stolen dreams. Miss Chin, Rachel called. The tech reporters are ready for your interview. I smiled, straightening my blazer. Let's show them what real innovation looks like. Because sometimes success isn't just about having a great idea. It's about being smart enough to protect it, strong enough to fight for it, and patient enough to watch karma play out from the top floor of the building you bought. And as I watched my company's name being installed on the Bradford building's facade, I couldn't help but think that some lessons in entrepreneurship are best taught through real estate transactions. Especially when they involve evicting the brother who never thought you'd fight back.